Jakob Ingebrigtsen is going to do in the 1500. He has time to look behind him. 20 years of age, and he is on top of the world.
But coming down for a maiden national crown, Cornwall is the champion.
Garouz has run his race, or has he? Has he got anything left? El Garouz trying to get there. Kipchoge the junior's there. El Garouz is trying to get to the line. Kenya wins it. Kipchoge takes
Vivian Chariot's turn. And what a proud moment for her and the Kenyans. The first woman from her nation to take the 5,000 metre title. Vivian Chariot's in Dreamland.
on the outside. Ollie Hoare of Australia comes. Jake Whiteman has just spent. It's going to be Chariot and Hoare. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Australia. The gold.
Before we get into it, a quick word from the sponsor of this episode. Stability has never felt better than with the ASICS Gel Keanu 30 shoe. Updated with a 4D guidance system for support right when you need it, pure gel technology for softer landings every time, and FF Blast plus Eco cushioning for an even more comfortable ride. Jimmy, lovely to have you on Runners Tribe. You've just got back from Europe. How are you feeling?
Hey Sam, yeah, great to be back on Runners Tribe. It's been a while since we caught up. Yeah, feeling pretty good, getting back into the flow of just life over here and getting over jet lag. I think I was telling you that story before that I fell asleep in Barbie on Saturday night. At 8 o'clock at night, so I was a bit past the bedtime. So
But you
still
were loving
struggling
it
a bit, but we're getting there.
You were loving it before you fell asleep though, hey?
I was loving it, yeah. It made me look, like I said, it made me look macho falling asleep in Barbie, but yeah, I was actually enjoying it. So
You had to get back there and see it again, you know?
yeah, I will. So get my pink shirt out.
It's been a pretty sweet 2023 for you so far. You've set PBs over 1,500 mile, 3,000, 5,000, 10K road. I maybe missed one or two there, and I assume you would have set PBs in all the other events if you actually kind of raced them, right? So you must be pretty stoked. I mean, I know you probably wanted more, but you've got to be pretty happy with the year, right?
Yeah, I think I probably haven't reflected on the whole year yet. So hearing it like that, it's really positive in terms of, yeah, there's been huge progression, especially over 10K and the longer stuff this year, which I guess that's where you've got to be as a distance runner these days aerobically. So yeah, like really happy with the progress and I guess just trying to enjoy that process of getting better year on year as you get older. You never know when it's going to be the last year that you start seeing those improvements. So I think just enjoying hanging on to that while it's still coming and enjoying the process. So it's been really, really good and really positive in that respect.
How old are you now?
29, Sammy. So
yeah. I mean, how old was Nick Willis when he was punching out, major championship medals? Just late 30s, I think. So
yeah, no, it is interesting. Like, I think when I was younger, I was thinking might get to 26 and call it, but going a lot further. But it's interesting. I feel like I keep getting better, and I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. I've still got that excitement around, so I think that keeps you going.
The age stuff, it's interesting. Like you got obviously Cam Myers, who's kind of a fair bit younger, and I guess it makes. I remember guys 29. It's not old for a middle distance runner at all. But then you look at guys like Cam, and I guess it makes you feel old when you're comparing yourself to that. But there's still many good years left, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it is interesting at the moment because it feels like the younger guys are getting younger at being better at a younger age, but then also the older guys are able to hold on a lot longer in this day and age. So it is an interesting phase in athletics, I guess, where you've got those massive gaps. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be in a sport where you can, I guess, keep progressing, and I guess the aerobic side of things that just keeps getting better and better. So it makes the options a lot wider as well with what you can do. So
what you touched on just before is saying that strength and distance and endurance are so key these days. Like I was chatting to a mate this morning on a run, how there's very few kind of pure 800/1500 runners that kind of race both a lot, you know, like it seems that all the best 1500 runners have kind of raced 5,000 more than 800. Is that kind of how you see it?
I think, I think the sport's probably moving more towards that way, and it's been that way, I'd say, probably for the last 6 to 8 years. It's been moving more that way. I guess seeing Josh Kerr upset Jakob on the weekend, his rate, like he's obviously very good at the 800 as well, and probably he's got that strength more so leaning to that way than the 5K. So there's definitely advantages to that as well. I guess Jake Whiteman's the same, so it might be the way to actually beat Jakob's being stronger that way.
Yeah, Whiteman's a
I
think, isn't he?
Yeah, and what's Kerr? Is Kerr like 145 or?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me look. Yeah, I know Whiteman's definitely 144. So it's definitely it can't help, but it's definitely, you just look at most of these guys, even like Hikam El Garouge, you know, 20 years ago and 15 years ago and whatnot. I guess he was more of a 15 5K guy, wasn't he? So
yeah, and I think it's always, I mean, in terms of maturing as an athlete, it's always a lot easier to put more work in and to train harder than to 800. Obviously, it requires a lot of that as well. But I think there's a lot of natural ability, a lot of speed, and it's a very different training approach, I guess you'd say, going the 800, whereas the 15 5K, you just progressively end up seeming to move more that way than being an 800. So yeah, it is interesting how training's changing, and then also with double threshold, all that stuff. I think more and more. So it's going more to how much more aerobic stuff can we fit in, and you can still be good at 1500 doing ridiculous like marathon sessions. So yeah.
And I'm going to get to that a bit later and just pick your brain a bit on that. But everyone loves that sort of shit, you know, talking about double thresholds and stuff. So we'll get back to that. But your Europe trip, you raced a lot, right? Like 4 1500s, I think. Correct me, man, if I make a mistake, but I think it's like 4 1500s, and I think you ran sub 340 in all of them. And you punched out a PB 337.55. So it's obviously, you know, I know you want to run quicker over 1500, but you know, how do you see that? You know, the 337.55. Are you happy with it? What do you take away from that European trip?
Yeah, so I actually ran 5 1500s, and I went over with the intention that I wasn't going to race many 1500s. So I definitely over raced in the end. One of the challenges with going to Europe is just getting into the right race. And there was a lot of times, my first race was in Finland, 1500. I'd just come off running 28:20 in the 10K, ran the 1500, and I felt so good in terms of, didn't feel like I was going lactic. I just was lacking that racing. So all of a sudden my mindset's like, if I can get a good race here and actually get myself into get race fit, I think I'm going to blow away my 1500 PB. So I did that race in Finland, ended up like 12 o'clock at night, just emailing the meet director for a race that was on the Saturday in Belgium because it was close by and I knew it was going to be a good race. Raced that, ran 0.05 off my PB in that race. And then from there I was like, and I felt great in the race, but from then on I was in the mindset that I just want to blast my PB. And big thing I learned, it's like you get in these races, I was competitive in all the races. Like I wasn't getting blown away in any of them, but I was racing guys, and our race would be, you know, you're on a 6-lane track, you at the start, haven't raced for a while, I was getting pushed behind, you know, coming up really well, finishing the race really well, and beating guys that had run 333, 334 a couple weeks before, but they're only finishing that race 338, 339. So I didn't really feel like I got the race that represented where I was at, but I also don't think that's an excuse either, because I mean, if you're good enough, you can do it in any race. But it is challenging in Europe, because at the same time, I think sometimes if you just get on the right train, get on the right race, you can, right conditions. It's so much more to it, I guess, than just being in good shape and being ready to go on the day. So that was a big takeaway.
Is anyone, like, I know you just said that you emailed that particular race director the night before, whatever, but is anyone helping you get into some of the other races, or is it mainly you managing all that yourself?
Yeah, so normally I wouldn't do that. So I work with Sean Whipp.
Yeah.
So he's the one, we'll talk about races before the season. He's the one that'll get me into races. He's pretty good with, like, if there's races that because I've been and traveled overseas before, there's certain races where you basically just enter, or they're not hard to do. That one was one that you just enter yourself, but entries had closed and I wanted to do it. So, but ideally, like, he's been brilliant for me, getting me races, being prepared in advance, because it's a huge thing when you go overseas. I've been over before and I just haven't, I guess I've gone over with the approach that I'm going to get into these big races. And the issue with some of these bigger races is don't find out whether you're in until sometimes a few days before, especially when you're on the cusp. So there's times when I was overseas and you're doing a session 2 days out. You don't know whether you should be doing a tapering session or whether you should blast yourself, because it might be 4 days later that you're racing again. So yeah, I guess having Sean Whipp work with me this year just helped me to have a bit more of a racing schedule and have stuff locked down so I could get everything together, training. And
nice. Does Sean look after a kind of a bunch of athletes from Team Tempo?
In terms of team, I can't think for Team Tempo. Like he doesn't look after Clarkey. But yeah, I don't think so Team Tempo, but lots of athletes around Australia he looks after, and also New Zealand. I think he's got the high jumper. He does have the high jumper, the fly, Hamish Kerr.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, quite a few other really good athletes. So he's really built his group of athletes out.
Great that there's another option out there for, athletes in Australia to reach out to, in terms of, I was thinking, like, if I woke up one day and you're in Europe and I saw that you posted a 3:33 or 3:09 or 13:09 over 5K, neither would shock me, right? Like, you're kind of knocking on the door and you're just looking for that breakthrough run. Where do you see it happening? Like, I know that's probably a pretty hard question. You can't really answer it, but 1,500 or 5K or 5,000, where do you see that potential to really knock off a huge chunk and then start making major teams?
So hard to say. Like, I'm right in the middle right now for both of them. I'd say I'm a better 1,500 meter runner, but then when you say about in terms of knocking on the doors for teams, 5K is more realistic for me right now with what the guys have ran. And I also think 5K is where I've got a lot more room to grow as an athlete in terms of the aerobic stuff. And as I saw overseas, I think my 1,500 is gonna keep improving with that type of training as well. So it's basically, I see myself making teams on 5K and longer stuff, but then I still have unfinished business with the 1,500. Like, I think if I could walk away with a 3:33, 3:34, I'd walk away happy and I'd be satisfied. But right now, sitting with a 3:37, I feel like I've been in much better shape than what that reflects. And I think if I finish with that, I won't be satisfied in that event. But that we'll just have to see where that goes.
A mate was telling me that I think he saw on social media maybe that your entire trip was funded by friends and family. So did you do like a GoFundMe thing, or did you just have some very, very generous good friends?
Did a Australian Sports Foundation page.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've heard about that at all, but it's basically for athletes. It's really handy for other athletes out there, but all the deductions are tax deductible for people that donate. So I just put it out there. Didn't really know what would come of it. And I had some incredibly generous friends and family that put a lot of money into that and basically funded my whole trip. And I mean, you're looking trip like that's 12 to 15 grand at least. So probably more. So it's a lot of money. It's a big commitment going overseas and doing that. So, like, very blessed, I guess, just to have that support and that belief here. And, it's huge. Like, I think being in Tassie, it's very, like close and connected, and just so many people that have that belief in you, and just putting their own money. It definitely motivates you when you go over there
Oh
to
man,
do
it's
stuff,
awesome. It's awesome.
like that. And I possibly couldn't do it without it. Probably not
That's
in a
awesome.
position right now to go for that period of time. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, mate. It's great to hear. Like, you're one of those guys everyone wants to see have that, breakthrough run and make the Olympics. So, you're a lot of supporters. Makes sense,
thanks, Sonny.
I nearly did a double take when I saw your road 10K PB. I was doing some research a few hours back and I saw 28:20 on the screen. I was like, holy shit, man, is that real? And then I did it, Launie. I'm like, you must have been pretty stoked with 28:20.
Oh, I was blown away by it. Like, I think that's one of the times where we talk about, like 3:33, I'd walk away and be happy. 28:20, that's far beyond what I thought I'd ever run. Honestly, like getting in the 28s was, for me, huge. And then to go down to 28:20 and, Brett Robinson's only just out kicking you with a K to go. It was pretty surreal to do that on home turf. So yeah, that was pretty cool, especially for a big boy like myself.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like, I saw this track session you did. Just for those listening, obviously, who you did it before. I think maybe in Europe or before you left for Europe. It was 4 sets of 800, 300. So 4 sets of that. And you started in toy 7 for the 8s and ended in 158, and you started in 44 for the 300s and ended in 41s. And I mean, it's a pretty intense, sweet, track session. And obviously you've got both sides there. You got that 10K and 28:20 and really nice track sessions too. But how do they work together? I mean, are you doing intense track work like that in this, in say 6-8 week lead up to, track running? And then in winter, you're probably not doing that in the middle of winter. Like how does that structure work?
Yes, I definitely wouldn't be doing that type of session in the middle of winter. But I do, I probably do that kind of stuff. Once I start track work, there'll be those type of workouts in there. So that could be, say, January, and then you're doing that stuff all the way through to July type of thing. But then you also have, I guess, breakdown bits where it's like I might go into a bit more. I might finish the Aussie domestic season, they might go into a bit more of a winter block and then bring that stuff back in. So it might be like 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 2 6 to 8 week intervals where I'm hitting those type of sessions. But yeah, that's a lot more specific, I guess, to racing. And then
Awesome. Let's just quickly before I get on to some training stuff. You've been out to Leonora a few times. I think that's where I met you the first time when we were out in the outback in Western Australia, and you came out again this year. I missed you this year, but you came out and you came second, I think, to Cam Myers. How's the experience, man? How was racing Cam and coming back out to Leonora?
Yeah, geez, I reckon I've got the record nearly for the person that's been out the most to Leonora. I'm definitely the most seconds there. But yeah, it's an awesome race, and once again, like that's been huge in giving me opportunities to travel overseas, like the prize money there, and it's basically can help set you up with your flights overseas, which is really difficult. But yeah, once again, like each year it just seems to keep getting better. Like I feel like I'm improving each year, and then the athlete that's there just keeps getting better. And Cam's like something we've never seen before. Spoken to a few people about him, but just as for his age and the way he races and the way he speaks, I'm really impressed by him. He doesn't seem like anything phases him. He races so confidently for such a young guy that's only really got into that level of racing this year. And I wasn't surprised. I honestly wasn't surprised when he ran 3:33. Like I was just waiting for him to do something like that, because mentally, like he's obviously got the physical aspect, but he's also got that mental aspect as well, which blows me away for someone so young, and which is exciting for the future of our sport, which is already pumping so much. But to have someone like Cam at that age, who's the greatest ever for that age group, it's exciting for Australian athletics.
Yeah, man. a fit Ollie Hoare, Stu, and Cam Myers all in the one race would be pretty mouthwatering, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I have a vague memory. You have to correct me on when it was, but maybe a few years back when you were sick and you had a clot, and then you ended up with a paralyzed arm from the clot. What happened? When was it? And is all that obviously ancient history now?
Yeah, so that was, when was that? 2021. So I basically, I'd had like a really hard couple of years in terms of my running. I'd had stress fracture in my back that didn't heal. Basically had a year off and then never got myself into shape so quick. Like I started training in November or December that year, and this is after a year off, and I ended up making the national final and running 3:39. That was like 4 months of training, no preseason. And I was like, oh, we're on here. I'm fit. And then I started getting these really bad headaches just randomly. So bad that I was working one day and it was like my brain just completely shut off. And I called an ambulance and they took me to hospital. And basically, long story short, the headache was so bad I had to leave because they couldn't admit me. And so I went home. They thought it was just a sickness. So they said, go and take a over-the-counter sleeping tablet. Took that, woke up, and then because I got fit so quick, and actually it was 2020 because I'd got fit so quick. Oh no, 2021. Yeah, because I got fit so quickly, I was like, oh, I could be an outside chance of the Olympics here. You only get this opportunity once. You don't know when you're going to get that opportunity again. So I kept trying, wake up from a headache like that, go out 20K long run, like stupid now looking back, but I didn't think I had a clot in my brain. And then at the time, because I was doing a training block in Melbourne, I came back to Tassie and I was basically out on a run one day with a mate. And we're running along and all of a sudden I felt this like it was something shoot up my body. I was like, that was a weird feeling. Anyway, we're jogging along down the road and all of a sudden my arm just starts going a bit funny. And then we got at the lights and I looked down and he's like, oh, you're good. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to stop for a bit and walk. And he was close to home. So he ran off. And then all of a sudden he's jogging off and I'm like not thinking. I look down at my arm and my arm's fully like paralyzed. Like my fingers were not moving. And then I was like, oh, it was quite cold. I was like, is it like frostbite or something? Anyway, I was close to a doctor's surgery. So I ran in there and that led to me going to a hospital and scanning my brain, and pretty much the whole left side of my brain was clotted. So I was very lucky. Like it's a condition that's very rare. It affects like a few in a million people and kills quite a few people as well that get it. So considering I was doing huge workouts, the way I was training, I was very, very lucky to survive that. But the positive thing about it was clotting. Clotting's pretty easy to resolve. So they basically got me on blood thinning medication and that dissolved the clot. And then I've got to be on that for the rest of my life now, which hasn't had an impact on me really at all. It's been really fine. And I'm confident with that medication, I'm not going to clot. So it gives you a lot of assurance that you're not going to have an issue again down the track. So my mum's had a history with clotting, so they think it could be something hereditary, but never really could say exactly what it was.
Oh man, that sounds pretty hairy. Hey, I'm glad you're on top of that and that you're all set.
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. Yeah, it was interesting, like when you're young and stuff like that. But I guess if it's your head or your heart, areas like that, you're best to do everything to get it checked out.
Mate, I saw a Facebook post, I think, and you're saying, you're really going to devote yourself the next year to having a crack at the Olympics, right? Just so you have no regrets and, just do your best and just train your ass off and all that. And, 20, 25K days and one day off a week. And, how have you structured your life over the next kind of 10, 11 months in order to do this and also get enough rest needed to be your best and also pay the bills and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, probably in terms of structuring my life, like I feel like over the years I've developed a bit of a training system that works for me. That's like Monday to Saturday, I have Sundays off. as a rest day. And then in terms of outside of that, I've got a pretty cushy job, which I set up. So it's not the job you'd want to be doing at my age, but I'm just like, I'm working on the phone for Telstra. I do that 30 hours a week, but basically means I can lay on my back all day, take calls, run in my lunch break if needed. So it's pretty much the perfect job for me right now to be able to, not live pretty stress-free. I see it as you're pretty much like a full-time, like it's not like a normal job where I'm physically taxed or anything from it. So that's been a massive help, and then getting some sponsors on board and stuff like that. So I feel like I've set up my life in a way where running's not really stopping me from doing stuff outside of that and everything. But I guess it's just
nice.
I'm just going to keep working harder, keep finding ways to step it up, and keep finding habits in your life to lift that level to the next part. Because I'm a big believer that you do the work, find ways to work harder, and the results come. So just keep finding ways to step up little bit by little bit.
You mentioned a few sponsors have got behind you. Who are they?
So I've got.
By the way, this is not a
McGrath.
plug. We are not being paid.
Yeah.
For me to ask that question. I legit don't know. I presume it's ASICS with Team Tempo, and you got an ASICS shirt on right now, looking at you. But I have no clue who the others are.
Yeah, so I initially got McGrath locally come on board. So that's like the Tasmanian group of McGrath. So they've been awesome. Also got Exceed Engineering, so like a local engineering company. So that came out of me putting a social media post out, and the director of that company basically messaged me and said, he was happy to help out. And, we worked out a plan where I put them on my singlet, and that's the deal we have. And then also pretty cool, I got a car company, the local car. So I get a free car.
Do you actually get a car?
I don't get it given to me, but I get like a car that I can drive for 12 months.
Oh, man.
So puts a bit more pressure on running well when you got a nice.
You should ask, if you make the Olympics, you actually get given a car.
Oh no, that'd be all right. But yeah, so got those, and then obviously ASICS and Team Tempo. So before that, I had no sponsors, so that's all happened within the last 12 months to have all of those come on board. So that's really cool. I mean, as an athlete, I've reached out a lot of times, and I've been rejected by companies and stuff. So it's nice to have people that actually support you. But if anyone's listening to this, I recommend you just keep going after those sponsors as well, because there are people out there that will get behind your story and your dreams if you knock on enough doors. So don't be scared, because the only thing they can say is no. That's the worst thing they can say. So
yeah, 100%. Persistence pays. Hey,
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, it's a big thing with athletics. Like, I mean, in track, we can't promote brands with our singlets really, but roads you can. So it's another thing as well, finding ways you can provide value with whether it's your road singlet or social media and stuff like that. There's definitely other ways you can do it too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, the club level, I guess, racing kind of diamond leagues and stuff, you're allowed to run in, your sponsors kit and all that sort of stuff. I guess it depends, doesn't it? But it would be kind of cool to just be able to wear your sponsor kit at any race you wanted, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely. Like, it opens so many more opportunities up for making money and stuff like that. But I guess you can't, when you realize you can do that in road races and stuff, you can't really. I think for years I made that an excuse that I couldn't get sponsors.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so your coaching wise, like through Team Tempo, I'm assuming Adam is your coach?
No. So I'm how Team Tempo works. So I'm part of the group. I'm sponsored by them, but I'm still independent in terms of my coaching.
Gotcha.
With that, so Adam's there. He's there to provide support if I need it. And then anything like that, like I know he's always there for me. But yeah, I'm still independent in terms of my coaching and coaching myself. But it was awesome, like going overseas. Me and Matty Clark stayed together, and having that aspect of feeling like I'm a part of a team is huge. Because I guess when I'm in Tassie, it's like I'm very isolated from anything like that. Like I've got great guys around me that help me, but I'm not part of any group. I'm independent. I'm doing my own thing. I don't have any structure to pull into or anything like that. So being a part of that while I'm overseas and in the group and going to races and feeling like that's really, really cool with the ASICS and Team Tempo side of it.
Man, awesome. Hey, when we were on a run years ago together, you mentioned that you love doing your swimming twice a week because you reckon it gets you kind of a bit fitter than, when you don't do your swimming, you struggle, your fitness goes backwards. Are you still kind of doing that?
Yeah, still I swim 3 times a week.
3 times. And I can tell your shoulders, man. You're like...
Well, it's funny you say that because I've changed the way I do it a little bit, but I don't know if it's helped. I don't know if it's helped at all because I feel like I'm getting bigger. I don't know how. But I do what I call dead man paddle now. So it's basically running with my head underwater. I look like an absolute idiot and it's embarrassing, but I love it. I feel like it helps me. Something about the breathing in swimming, and then you also get 30 minutes of. I feel amazing after I go for a swim. It's almost like it resets me every time those 3 days. So yeah, I pretty much do 30 minutes of this dead man paddle, and yeah, get that done. I used to swim, but then I realized it was just making my back and everything super muscly, and I'm guess like being specific with your training is such an important thing. So I was like, how do I swim but keep it specific, which is dead man paddle.
So dead man paddle, just let's further on it. Is it water running with your head dunking underwater?
Yeah, pretty much.
So why aren't you just water running, like with your head up above the water?
Because I find it's the breathing I get the biggest benefit from. And I think I was speaking to someone about it. They're like, I guess in terms of like the research and stuff, I'm someone that's very intuitive. So I like to find some of this stuff out for myself, whether it's science, in terms of like science backed and stuff like that. Like, not that I don't believe in that stuff, but it's like, sometimes I'm like, well, even if I mentally believe in it, I'm like, well, I should keep doing it. But I find, because I'm doing it underwater. So when I used to swim, I used to take a breath every like 16 to 18 strokes. So I've got to a stage, and I found what the big thing is for me in terms of the performance enhancement is when you get to the end of the race, you start to stress out, and basically your body starts breathing super quickly, but it doesn't need to. It's doing that as like a defense mechanism to try to get oxygen into your body, but your body's so inefficient at bringing oxygen in anyway. So breathing more actually is negative because you start getting more stress, then your brain starts getting fatigued and everything just starts falling apart. Whereas I found when I started swimming, I could get to that stage where I had a lot more breath control. So towards the end of the race, what I find is I can slow my breathing down, and then slowing my breathing down helps me to relax more. And that's why I think it's huge in helping my performance with that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. And this is happening three times a week. And like, how long do the sessions kind of go for?
I do 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
So it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday are my swim days. So I usually work like 11 till 7. So finish work, pool closes at 7:45. Got to get there, pretty much drive straight there, get in the pool for half an hour. And then I'll gym as well in the evening, run in the morning. So
man,
it's kind of how.
Love it. I love it. So, Jimmy, it's been awesome chatting, man. That's kind of got to my list of the stuff I really wanted to talk about. Is there anything we've major that we've missed, or is it all pretty much there? Yeah.
I think that's.
Yeah. You're doing big mileage, hey, 20 to 25K days. I presume you're up near like 120, 130K weeks.
Yeah, so I was, I hit, my biggest week I hit was 150. I'm probably like on average about 120 to 130. So, so that's been about, the standard kind of thing. And yeah, had a bit of a break from coming back from Europe now, so time just like to reflect and just to get ready for some new stuff. Like I have been dabbling with some double threshold stuff,
Oh man.
different things like that. So
I reckon let's jump into that. Just one sec. Jimmy, I was gonna wrap things up, but we need to talk about this double threshold stuff. It's pretty cool. I mean, everyone's obsessed about it. You know, I have a mate, he's like in his 50s and he's training for the master stuff, and he went out and did a double threshold the other day just to say he did it, you know, and I think he's pretty much got a stress fracture. So but let's talk about you.
yeah.
How has your training changed, you know, with all this stuff?
So yeah, it's definitely the hype word, the big hype word and the hype way to train at the moment. But yeah, I just basically spoke with a mate and we're like, let's give this a go, because to me it makes so much sense that if you can it's the same as doing more volume in terms of if you can increase your volume of training, if it's at a slow speed, that's going to get you better. So if you can increase the volume of training you're doing at your threshold and your body's able to do that, to me, that makes sense that it's going to improve your threshold, when threshold's obviously such a big aspect of endurance performance. Like it's huge. It's, you know, so highly weighted to aerobic strength compared to anaerobic strength, especially the higher you go, 5K, I think it's like 90% type of thing. So to me, that just like made so much sense. So in terms of bringing it into my training, I'm just at the start, I'm just experimenting with it. So doing it before leading up to Lonnie 10. So I did run I ran my big PB off it. I was doing once a week. I'd do the double thresholds. It'd look something like 20 by 400 in the morning off 30 seconds recovery. And then in the evening, it'd be something like 5 by 5 minutes at maybe like 310 to 320 K pace. And then the 400s are like probably like 67 to 68. You've got to be, because I don't have like a lactate machine, you got to be obviously careful, because the best thing to do is to be a little bit under than to actually go over, because as soon as you're over, you're not getting the actual threshold training in. So I feel like listening to my body, making sure I'm not getting any tingles in my hands, different things like that is a really good way to do it. At the start, when I first started doing it, I was actually surprised by how well I pulled up, because I'm somebody, I do a run in the morning, and whether it's like the intensity of my sessions or what it is, like even threshold sessions, usually if I do a threshold in the morning, say like 20, 30 minutes straight, I pull up and I'm rubbish. But I think with the double threshold, because you're not doing it in one hit and you're actually pulling yourself back a little bit, you pull up quite well from it. So I did about 4 weeks of it leading in. Didn't do it while I was overseas or anything like that.
4 weeks leading into Burning 10, or 4 weeks leading into the year?
4 weeks. So it was about 4 weeks. It was leading into Lonnie 10.
Oh, Lonnie, not Burning, I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually did run the 10 and I ran absolutely shocking. I was like, all right, maybe this stuff is not working for me at all. But then a few weeks later, I came out and I ran really well. So I don't think you're going to get the benefits from 4 weeks, but definitely, I guess for me in my training, I'm going to use it as a tool to get better. And I guess because I coach myself, I'm in a little bit of a position. I think it's a lot harder for groups to just go, we're going to completely change the way we do things. But because I can navigate a little bit quickly with my training, I'm like, well, this makes sense to me. I'm keen to give it a go. I think it's going to be a more longer term thing. Whether I do it once or twice a week, still haven't decided how much I'm going to go into it. But yeah, I'm just working that out with my training, what my weeks are going to look like, and go from there.
So far, have you just been doing it once a week?
Once a week, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the day after it, let's say for example you do it on a Tuesday, then the Wednesday, you're probably doing an 80-minute, 90-minute run or something. Are you just going very slow and easy on that run, or are you just running to feel? What are you doing to recover?
Yeah, so that would just be an easy day. So just the same. I'm like probably 60 minutes in the morning, 30 in the evening.
Yeah.
And then I do a long run on a Thursday. So been keeping that long run. And then Saturday was like more of a specific track session that I was doing. So it hasn't like, I guess I'm bringing it in more probably for me as a tool that I have there, because sometimes it's really hard to get threshold work in when you're doing a lot of track stuff. So I don't know how I'm going to navigate it, whether I'll bring it in more, or I think probably early winter, definitely bring it in more because it's less specific. But then as you get to track season, like when I was in Europe and stuff, it'd be very hard when you're racing every week to try and do a double threshold on the Tuesday. I don't know
for sure
how you would do that. And I don't know how they approach that overseas, whether they keep it going and they still race or what. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be pretty tough wouldn't it, to race on a Saturday and punch out a double threshold on a Tuesday. I don't know if that's kind of ideal, but
yeah. It gets me excited though. It's one thing that's really got me excited. I feel like this year, in terms of my training and everything building, I couldn't have done anything better. And you look at the year and you go, how do I step up the next year?
Yeah.
And double threshold, I just feel like it's that tool where it's like if that does work the way it has been for like the Ingebrigtsens and everything like that, it's that next thing where you go, oh wow, I've got that next thing I can add into my training and improve and build it up from there. So
awesome.
It's
Man,
it's really exciting.
It's pretty cool. It's fun to talk about it and learn about it too.
Yeah.
Obviously, sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like for me, I love the thing with running where it's almost like you're a person in the gym and you're focused. You're trying to build like an engine rather than an outcome in a way. And I love that mindset too. And I love that idea with double threshold that it's like, all right, we're building the engine room.
Yeah.
All of this stuff.
Exactly. And it's kind of like this.
And it takes that.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it takes that pressure away from just performance all the time, because I feel like if you build a big enough beast, the performance is going to come eventually anyway. It's just it's going to be part of that.
It's kind of like this challenge to see who can get the most amount of minutes done per week at threshold, and to just build that aerobic beast and not get injured, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And I guess that's going to be the key. But I guess the thing with that as well is it's like I've had a hamstring tendinopathy that I've had for quite a period of time. Double threshold for me is a lot less intensity than going out and doing the really hard stuff. So in some aspects, that's been beneficial because I pull up better from that than if I try to do more intense work. So
awesome, mate. Hey, the world champs on at the moment, obviously, and what did you think about Ingebrigtsen getting out kicked? Were you, there's a lot of people that are kind of anti him at the moment due to the waving he did in the semis. Other people think it was Ovett-like and pretty cool. Where do you sit on it?
I love the way. I mean, I don't know how you can be against him because he's
for sure.
The fact we're talking about double threshold because of
I know,
that's 100%. The only reason we're talking about.
And
people are talking about completely changing their training because of one person. When has that happened?
Exactly right. It's like, and everyone with Ovett, like, back when Ovett used to wave at crowds, people are like, oh, he's cocky, he's arrogant. Everyone thinks he's the freaking man these days. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's all these videos of him running down the home straight waving at everyone, right? Like, I feel like, how can we bag out Ingebrigtsen for being a showman? Isn't that what the sport needs?
Yeah, and I think, I guess he's just brought that. He has changed middle distance and long distance running completely, and it's, even the fact that stuff happens, the fact that Josh Kerr winning is such a big deal and Whiteman winning last year was such a big deal. It's only such a big deal because he's been so dominant. So I just I love the way he goes about it. I've always been someone that loves the showman, though. I love the person that says they're going to do something and goes out and does it and has the confidence to put it on the line. I've probably never been someone that actually can say it and do it like that. So people that do that and back it up, I've got a lot of respect for, because it is a hard sport, and it's like so much goes into it. You know, we all know some days you just don't feel good, and some days it doesn't come together, but to be as consistent as what he is, it's crazy, really.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kerr's run was pretty special, and it's exciting when world champs kind of changes that right. Like Ingebrigtsen all year, when it's paced, it's clean cut. He's going to win the world champs race.
I know, man.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on it?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, everyone always, is saying how good Kerr's kick is and blah, blah, blah. But he also, during winter and early winter, Kerr was, doing a few half marathons, a few 10Ks, a few 5Ks, and then he did a few 3Ks on the track as well. So it's like he's been working on that longer side like a shitload. And he's he's a bit like you, like his aerobic and endurance engine over the last 6 or 10 months has gone like through the roof. And so I think that, yes, he's got speed. Yeah, he's a 145.2 guy, but he also, he only could use that speed because he's so damn fit that he was still there, right, with 80 meters to go, and he could utilize that speed. So I think that's maybe some of the time people don't realize how hard he's worked on the endurance. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Probably more long-winded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, and he if you follow him on social media, he's put some pretty outrageous things out there for a while, saying that he's going to be what he is now. And I respect that too, because it's I guess it's that thing of putting something out there and actually doing it and having enough belief to do that. Like, belief is such a big thing, and I guess athletics is such a mental sport as well. And people that are willing to put it out there, it's pretty huge when they.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a fan now.
When they.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah. I love Ingebrigtsen, but Kerr, like, man, what a legend! Like, it was awesome to see. So yeah. 5,000. But then
Ingebrigtsen, he didn't know favors for himself with his press conference talking about his. I only saw the Sidious one, so I didn't hear him talk about his illness. But the person just asked the question, but I'm like, you can't really. I feel like you don't. When you're that good, it does yourself no favors when you're saying that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy finished in a 53-second last. Like, you can't be feeling that bad.
Yeah.
Leading from the front.
Oh man, hey, I love chatting. Really loved it, and we'll have to do it again. It's been a big 10 months coming up for you, big 12 months, and I really hope that you can have that breakthrough that I know you badly want. I know you deserve, and I know that you can get it done. And I just wish you all the best, mate. And I hope to see you at the Olympics. And either way, you're an awesome runner, and it's going to be fun watching it unfold.
No, thanks heaps, Sammy. It means a lot. I've always loved catching up with you and love all the work you guys do with Runners Tribe, and exciting seeing all the work you're doing with Tarkon and everything as well. So loving seeing you guys grow as well.
Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks heaps.
Awesome. Cheers, Sammy.